Hello, my love. What's good? What's poppin'? Welcome back to another episode of the Howdy Podcast. My name is Jasper. I hope y'all are doing well. It's been a while since I've uploaded a new episode because life was just in the way. Here with me today is a very special guest, a fire lady, a TikTok star, and a mute golf enthusiast. So without further ado, let's welcome Miss Paris. Hi.
Hello, everybody. As you all know, my name is Paris. You're a crybaby BL and you're a Mew golf enthusiast. And I am super excited to be here today. It's been a while since I've done a podcast, so it's really excited and to be able to talk to somebody about BL.
Me too. I'm very, very excited to have you on my podcast. So to kick off, welcome to the podcast. So it's a pleasure to meet you. It's our first time meeting, right? So I'm super excited to have you here. I intentionally did not do a whole lot of research about you because I usually do a lot of research, but I wanted this to be more of like a dialogue, a conversation to get to know each other. So I have some questions just for whoever who's listening can get to know you a little bit better. So let's do a lightning round of questions. So let's try to do something fun. So these questions you don't need to give an explanation, and then we can just go back to them after it. So
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Awesome.
All right. So first question: what's your favorite variety/reality show?
Oh gosh, Bad Girls Club.
What show makes you cry every time?
Honestly, anything with babies or pets. Anything. Yeah. Most like probably Law and Order SVU. They have a lot of kid stuff on there.
Favorite Harry Potter house?
Oh gosh, I want to say Gryffindor, but we all know it's going to be Hufflepuff.
First BL actor you ever stan?
Tay-1.
Mew or golf?
Mew.
Favorite subjects in school?
Math.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Your followers are blank.
Ooh. Followers.
Well, people on your TikTok and so people who subscribe to your channel, and so how would you describe them?
Oh, my followers are amazing.
What shows are you currently watching right now?
Kinn Porsche, To My Star, and Love Mechanics in a couple of hours.
Nice. What's your favorite season? Like as in like, like the weather season.
Favorite season? Winter.
And the Howdy podcast is blank.
I'm trying to. What's the word that I'm looking for? I can like envision the fireworks going off, but I can't think of the word. Oh my gosh. Exciting. That's not the word that I really want, but it's something along those lines. Enthusiastic? No. I'll just go with exciting.
That's a good enough compliment for you coming from a TikTok star like yourself. So let's go back to the question. So you've just said that your first real actor is Tay-1. So you tell me a little bit of backstory, like how you got into standing Tay-1.
So funny thing is, my followers, they know the story because I've told it countless times. But Tay-1 is actually the reason why I got into BL. A couple of years ago, probably about 3 years ago, my friend, she sent me this Instagram post, and she's like, "This guy is so cute." He like popped up on her feed, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he is adorable." Yeah. I'm going to follow him. And so, of course, when on the Instagram algorithm, when you follow someone, they start popping up on your feed a lot. So I saw him like every day. I would be like, "Oh, he's cute." And I would just keep liking his posts. And a couple of weeks after following him, I saw that he started posting the commercial for Dark Blue Kiss, the trailer. And I was like, "Oh, he's an actor. I'm normally the person where I like to deep dive into somebody. So therefore, majority of the times when I follow somebody, I would go like through their entire feed. I'll find out everything down to their like blood type if I can, kind of a deal. But I didn't get to do that with him. I was just like, "Oh, eye candy in my feed. It is what it is." And then I saw him posting the trailers for Dark Blue Kiss. And I'm like, "Oh, he's an actor." So started watching the trailer. And I was like, "Oh, it's a gay series. It's a BL series." And I was like, "What is this?" And at the time, I was actually on Tumblr. For those old enough to know what Tumblr is, I was actually on Tumblr because I had a blog that I was doing like reviews on K-dramas that I watched on and like recaps. And I posted on my Tumblr account and I'm like, hey, I just found out that BL is a thing and it exists. And I was like, somebody hit me up. How do I do? Like, what do I do? Where do I start? Tell me what to avoid. Tell me what to watch. And all of a sudden, my notes thing there blew up overnight. I got thousands of posts and comments and retweets, and I somehow created a huge list of series to watch and to not watch and to stay away from. And then from there, I just kind of went off the list from the beginning and just kind of started all the way through. And here we are a couple of years later. So I would say, so we can all say thank you, Tae for getting me into BL, all because it was
into BL. Yeah. Nice. All right. So Mew or Golf. So why do you chose Mew over Golf?
How I view Mew is above like adoration, above idolization, above like love. Like it's one where you certainly, I don't necessarily put him on a pedestal, but I just really believe in what he does. I believe in the work that he puts out. I believe in the words that he's trying to put out into the world as well. He does a lot of things that you can really see that he's not a perfect person, but he's learning, he's improving himself, and he's also really talking more about real life matters. And I'm a person where I am a strong believer in equality, human rights, feminism, etc., like that. And Mew is also very active in those fields too. And so I really admire and respect somebody that is able to use their platform for their greater good. Not saying that Golf doesn't do it, but it's more like for Golf, when I see him, I just want to like baby him and coddle him and protect him from the world. While for Mew, I feel like I can run the world with him. So it's like different like versions of adoration and love. But for Mew, I know that he is starting to really branch off into what he wants his career to be, and he's really branching off into other projects. Like right now, he has this big one with about nature, with about like sea life and water and like things like that. So I just really admire him for that. It is a hard topic to choose between, but I have unfortunately been pressed before to choose one. So now it's kind of like I've logically thought it through enough where I can like pick it through to be like, okay, fine, one over the other. Yeah, it's been a long time. I had a long time thinking through it over the years.
Yeah. That's a really good answer, actually. Yeah, I also stand like BL actors who stand for the things that I believe in as well, and I really do admire like BL actors who show their support for equality and all of that. So and it's really rare to see people, like especially in the showbiz business, like especially people like the actors in Hong Kong. So that's where I'm from. You rarely see like actors who speak out and talk about these sort of things. So I truly admire like some of these VL actors who do that. So favorite subjects in school. So can you tell me a little bit more? Like, why did you like math? Were you good at math when you're in school?
Yeah, I was really good at math. When I was in high school, I was able to take the college calculus my high school years already. Math is just something that easily clicked. I enjoyed the fact that it was always going to be one answer. I didn't, I guess I wasn't creative enough to enjoy like writing and arts where it could be like a variety of answers.
But you're a content creator now.
Which is also hilarious. I really enjoy the fact that 2 + 2 = 4 and that 2 + 2 = yellow. While I can get philosophical and deep thoughts into certain things, the construct of math was just really easy to hold. And because I was so good at it, I was able to really push myself farther into it. Like, who really wants to take college calculus as a like sophomore? Nobody does. But it was an easy class. I didn't have to do a lot of thinking or a lot of work, and it just kind of came easily. So therefore, I was able to really enjoy it more and really able to look into other aspects of math rather than just like the basics that they taught you.
Oh, geez, I don't think I'll be able to do like college level calculus when I was in high school. I don't think I'll be able to manage it. Yeah. So good for you. Like that you're good on maths. Like, Good for you. So early bird or night owl. So you said that you're more of a night owl. So can you explain a little bit more about that?
I would blame my love for like watching series. I am the one that would like binge watch a series and I'll stay up until like 3, 4, or 5 in the morning and sometimes not even sleep because I would be so into a series or so into a book or something. Waking up in the morning, I always struggle with. I was never a morning
Mhm.
person, but staying up all night, totally can do it, down for it. It's just, I feel like my mind is always racing. So when I feel like I should go to bed, my mind is like, no, we should read a book. And then all of a sudden I look and it's like 4 in the morning and my book is finished. And I was like, oh, well, there it is. So it happens a lot. And especially with binging series and with the time difference too, sometimes the series don't air until like superbly late at night, or the subtitles don't come out until
Mhm.
superbly late at night for us, at least, because I'm in the States. So therefore, you're just so used to staying up all night, and then you get it's always the crime of you start a series and you're like 1 episode and I'll go to bed, and then
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're like 10 episodes in. That's my biggest struggle, which I feel like was the cause of me being such a night owl, because I would get so into something that I would just be like, screw everything. Who cares
Yeah,
if I
that's
have
the
to work
story of my
tomorrow?
life.
We'll manage.
Yeah, story of my life. Like, yeah. I'm kind of the same as well. Like, once I start binge watching a series, I just continue I just can't stop. Like it's really hard to stop. You just want to know what happens next. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And
So
see,
thank you for answering these questions. Thank you for doing so well in them. So let's get into the crux of today's episode. So let me ask you this question: would you ever involve yourself with the mafia?
what? Oh, okay. There's the fan, like the fictional wanting, romantic, hopeless romantic, action loving side of me, and there's the logical side of me. It sucks that it happens, but like I feel like as I get older, my logical side comes out more often. That's like, Paris, you would probably die. You have no patience for anybody. You don't really like to deal with like all of the ins and outs and like the snakiness. So no. But the fangirl side of me is like, yes, of course. Like, why wouldn't I? Like, you get to experience new things and you're like the adrenaline rush. And it's one of those things where it's always like, well, we'll see how I feel that day.
Mhm. But what if they were to offer you like $1 bajillion to work for them?
Oh gosh.
Would you do it?
If Kinn's the leader, yeah. And if I get to see Vegas, sure.
All right, so probably most of you probably would probably know what we're talking about. So today we'll be doing a review on Kinn Porsche. So Kinn Porsche is about Kinn. So he's like the second son of a mafia boss, is ambushed by an enemy and meets Porsche while trying to escape. So Porsche, a college student who works in a pub as his part-time job, sees Kinn being chased after and comes to his rescue after Kinn offers him money as reward. So money drives Porsche, a one-time national martial arts champion, into a close combat where he rescues Kinn. So Porsche's good fighting skills make Kinn offer him to be his personal bodyguard. So in addition to being pursued by Kinn, Porsche was also pursued by Kinn's enemies. So desperate, he had to relent to his fate and became Kinn's bodyguard, through his heart was reluctant, and he was afraid his only kin, his brother, would be involved in this madness. But fate seemed to be playing tricks on him, and he was finally forced to agree to Kinn and enter his intricate family. So being a bodyguard of a mafia boss is all about skills. So during this time, Porsche also encountered various unexpected things. The closer he got to Kinn, the more hesitation he felt in his heart. But this road is not easy to walk because the various problems and obstacles that follows are testing their love, and Porsche has to face all the difficulties and strengthen his feelings for Kinn. So we know that this is the most anticipated BL. The show took almost 2 years to come out, and some of the original cast were switched out before they began filming. And this is the first BL show for many of the actors on the show, and I know some of them are also newcomers. So I guess this is like the $1 billion question. So did you enjoy the show? Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, so it's actually exceeding my expectations, honestly. Um, I am I'm the biggest falter for having such high expectations for things, and then I always get let down. So therefore, this is the very first like full mafia BL that's been put out there, or for Thai BL, I should particularly say Thai BL, and more into the mainstream market. as well. I do know that other mafia type, gangster type BLs exist, while they're not as viewership friendly and they're not
Mhm.
as main market friendly. Kinn Porsche was able to take a storyline and really produce it for the masses. I read a lot of BL manga, so therefore one of my favorite tropes are the mafia tropes, unfortunately. And it was just kind of like, finally you read all of these mangas, you kind of know what to expect in them, and now you get to see them in a live action form. They teased the heck out of us for the past 2 years. We've seen the ups and downs. We saw the amazing 10-minute trailer that they initially gave us that was like a mini movie itself that could have won awards, with a huge cast. And then we saw the changing of the production company, and then it was in the middle of what's going to happen with it, and then finally to see it produce again. It just kind of got to the point where just like, finally, like, it's here, so you're just going to enjoy it. But they definitely have put a lot of work into it. You can really see the quality of it. I was a little on the fence, especially with the whole production company change as well, because we know that when that happens, sometimes it's not for the better side. But Beyond Cloud has definitely produced a great quality BL on thus far, so I'm really enjoying it and really enjoying where they're taking us and how they are really telling the story as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a turning point for BL because, like, generally we see BL series, are they limited to just overused settings like university or college, right? So I think the show really proved that BL series can be in any type, like crime, action, thriller, or even horror, just like so-called hetero romance can be. So I also think that, I also really enjoy the acting performances by the lead actors like Apo and Mile. And I also just want to give a quick shout out to all the supporting actors because I do understand that many of them are new actors. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Perth. I mean, he didn't have a huge part in the series, but who have thought that he could be this gangsta, right?
Oh my gosh, when Perth swore for the first time in the
Yeah.
series, I was just like, oh my god, like, rewind, let's watch that again. And like, seriously, it's because we're so used to him being like, I follow him on YouTube. I subscribe to him on
Mhm.
YouTube. So therefore I know how bubbly he is. And
Yeah,
I was a
same.
huge fan of My Engineer. So I followed him from My Engineer over. And so knowing how bubbly he is and how like sunshiny and bright he is, to see him play this mafia role where he's like a badass and he's like
Yeah.
swearing and like calling people losers and having an attitude, I was like, what is this? Like, I love this. So he's amazing. He did amazing. I love him.
He did an amazing job. But I would never expect that from him because he just seems really like bubbly and fluffy in real life. Like I would never have thought that he can be this gangster. Like, yeah, I think he acted his role really well. And I also have to agree with you. Like the production value is obviously very, very, very high compared to like some BL series that have been produced and definitely have lifted some standards. So what do you think about Kinn Porsche relationship?
Their relationship is as toxic as they come. But if you understand like the mafia trope, the setting and the environment that they're in, it's pretty normal, to be honest. I really feel like if you want cutesy, fluffy romance, this series is not for you. Yes, while they do have their moments, expect a lot of jealousy, expect a lot of push and pull, expect a lot of dubcon moments, expect a lot of like gray areas out there. It comes with a genre. It comes with the mafia genre, and it's one of those things where it's what makes the mafia genre as well. If they didn't have any toxicity in it, I feel like I would be even more surprised, versus them having it in it. But their Kinn Porsche relationship, though, as of right now, I just want to knuckle everybody in the head. I'm just so like frustrated and like flustered with everybody, but at the same time, it's like a good frustrated and a good flustered, where it follows the tropes enough where you can kind of see where it's going, but they do throw in little like twists
Mhm.
at you and side moments at you too. But it's definitely going to be a growing relationship. There's going to be a lot of falling back, a lot of taking steps back, and a lot of moments where you're going to be like to shake some like common sense into them.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's also what makes them so unique too, where you see that they're not perfect. Imperfect characters are always the best characters because you were able to really grow them and develop them into something deeper. And this series is able to do that so far with both of the lead characters.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's very interesting how they've paired Kinn and Porsche together because the thing is, like, throughout the series they get along swimmingly, but at the same time they don't, and they both are also very very different people. Because like Kinn is shackled by his professional responsibilities, and he also had this whole trauma from his old relationship, and he has this like stiff upper lips which prevents him from talking things over with Porsche until like shit hits the fan, right? So on the other hand, like Porsche, he's very effusive and more than happy to give and receive the affection he craves to just about anybody. And you can really, and I guess like to me, I really think that he really loves Kinn, but at the same time, he also chafes against his authoritarian streaks. So yeah, it's kind of like a really weird, like toxic dynamic, as you've just mentioned. It's a very interesting relationship.
It's kind of like they both grew up so fast that they never got to experience like childhood and making mistakes and things like that. So this relationship is their mess up, basically. Like we all have that really messy relationship growing up where it was just horrible. But like again, we were able to grow up and be children and be teenagers and experience that while both of them had to grow up fairly quickly. Both of them had to put responsibilities that they shouldn't be having to deal with at a young age on. And so therefore they didn't really get to experience and to mess up when they should. And now they're messing up as adults. And with Kinn's profession as well, while we always say communication is key, in the mafia world, you cannot communicate because everybody is sneaky and conniving and snaky.
Right? Yeah.
And you always have to be suspicious of everybody, and you always have to watch your back twice over. So it's kind of like you understand where they're coming from. Yeah, it sucks, but you know, one person's trash is another person's treasure. Like if it doesn't work for you, doesn't mean it's not going to work for somebody else. But there is a fine line though of what's not good. At the same time, like we aren't these characters. We can't tell them what's good or not for them as well.
Yeah,
so it's one of those things.
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. So speaking of which, what do you think of the hot scenes? Like how comparable are they to other BL series you've watched so far?
So I've watched a lot of Japanese BLs. Japanese BLs are actually one of my favorites just because they do tend to stay away from the university rom-coms. As much as I love fluffy stuff, I am a deep diver. So I like rewatching series and that are like, oh my God, I didn't realize that this doesn't do this. And then it moves into a bigger plot. I enjoy series where I finish it and I'm like, what the heck just happened? And then I have to rewatch it to understand it again. And Japanese BLs are very, very nitty gritty. They get to the point, especially if you find the right ones. There's a huge variety. So therefore, a lot of the like steamy 18 plus scenes honestly was nothing new, just based on the exposure of it. But definitely very, very well done, very well staged, very well choreographed and filmed. They were able to set up, you know, mood, lighting, music, just miking them so you can hear like their breathing sounds, just like little details like that make it really, really great. And it really shows too that you don't necessarily always have to shy away from being too steamy and that it's okay to do. I know that there's a whole talk about that, which is for another day, about things being too steamy. But I feel like for the genre that it's in, it works very well. Because again, it's part of the mafia trope and it plays very well into that genre. If it was a cutesy, fluffy BL and they were to throw in a very steamy scene like that, I would be a little bit more suspicious.
Yeah.
But because it's a mafia BL and because it's more adult orientated and adult viewership pushed, it's kind of like that's part of the game. You just got to go with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's probably the part of the reason why, like, if people to compare that to other BL series, like the ones that are more fluffy, it's a lot. It's really watered down compared to Kinn Porsche. Yeah, and I guess like for me personally, I don't think I've ever had ever get banged as rough as that. So damn, I'm missing out. But anyways, have you ever fantasized about something and then lived out the exact fantasy much later?
Um, Not necessarily. One of like my highlights in my entire life, thus far, especially ever since getting into like the BL community, I actually met Musa Basit via video call. I won a couple of like fan meets and such. So it's like I always wanted to talk to him, show him my content, and just really thank him for everything. And it was something that I always like wanted to do, and then it happened. So it was kind of like that's probably the highlight of my like social media presence. Honestly, if I could, like, nobody's gonna ever like. I'm never gonna live it down. The whole world's gonna know about it because it's one of the things that I'm most proud of. That I was able to show him the things that I created and that I talk about him so constantly that he knows that I talk about him. And also the fact that he remembers me too. So it's kind of like, oh, thank you for remembering
I saw the clip.
me. But fantasy wise for that, yes, like plot wise, not necessarily, because I, again, as much as I would love to be like swept off my feet and like, get run over by a bike and I meet the love of my life, I also know that I am too impatient to deal with it. I don't like the push and pull in real life. I'm a, do you like me? Yes or no? Okay. If you don't, we'll move on. Yes. Okay. We'll move on there. So I'm very like to the point blank. So as much as I would like to, I know that in reality, I wouldn't be able to handle a BL life story or a GL or a romantic life story.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really, really good answer. I don't think I'll be able to live out a BL love story either. But the whole push and pull, I feel like I'm also the same type of person that I kind of prefer like someone who's straight up just tell me, oh, do you like me or do you not like me, sort of a thing. Yeah. I also want to talk about the fight scenes and the stunts because they're really, really well executed. I would say they probably have spent a long hours getting trained because it looked really, really good. What do you think of them?
I know that by watching and like seeing a couple of the behind the scenes, they definitely put in a lot of work for them. I believe a lot of them are like you see them with like the air mask and they're just like hyperventilating because they like work their asses off, so they're like dying from not being able to breathe from doing things. I do know that there were a couple of scenes behind the scenes shots too, where they talked about where a couple of the actors, they were so sore that they could barely move because they had like action fighting training and things like that. So they definitely put in a lot of work for it. It obviously shows that they did as well. You can really tell when it's a bad fight scene or when it's a fake fight scene. Like you can really tell. And for this one, it's like very smooth, very well done. They're able to really use the camera angles to, make it more like professional wise. But their action scenes thus far with all of the BLs that we have seen, this probably has one of the best action scenes out there. And it really shows that they put in a lot of hard work for it too.
Yeah, I agree. I really think they must have put in a lot of like long hours just getting trained because it looks really, really real, right? It looks really, really good. And I really like the effect of it. So yeah. So, all right. Can we just talk about Jeff's voice? So it gives me an eargasm every time he sings. So apparently he wasn't meant to pair with Gameplay, who isn't meant to be the younger brother of Porsche, but I think Gameplay left. So I did really like Jeff and Gameplay's chemistry and ingredients. So do you think the series would have been different if they had kept the previous cast?
I feel like some of the chemistry would have been different just based on the roles. I know that Ollie, who was Kinn's like little side fling for like a episode, he was supposed to be Portia's friend actually, and part of the poly relationship that's might be happening, might not be happening. And I know that um, I feel like when actors are paired with one another so often, they get comfortable with one another and they don't push one another enough to improve one another. I'm always for people like pairs acting outside of their pairs. I feel like being put into a new environment, being dealing with new people will help you become more well-rounded and will help you become a better actor and just increases your talent. So therefore, while I enjoy Jeff in gameplay and ingredients. At the same time, I feel like it definitely would have just fallen back on the feelings that you had with them when they were in ingredients together versus it being a new pairing where you can start fresh. And Jeff's voice, he does not get the attention that he deserves. He honestly should be like selling like, you know, winning Grammys, selling like sold out concerts and etc. His voice is amazing. I remember when the episode of The Kiss came out and they had the acoustic and Jeff's voice started. I literally just started crying immediately. It was so beautiful and it was just so well done. And his voice is one that it's so like you can just listen to it for like hours. It's so soothing. It's so mellow. And like I honestly have him. I like subscribe to him on YouTube too, so I like listen to all of his covers on like replay and like whatever music I could download and buy. I like do it because I really love his voice, and it's one of the voices where when he sings, you know it's him. You're like, yep, that's him. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoy his voice as well. It's really, really nice. It's really soft and mellow. Yeah, and it just gives me an orgasm every time I listen to him sing. Like he just has a really beautiful voice, like man. But so, what do you think about Vegas?
Oh my God. Okay. Vegas. I love toxic characters. I love characters that you're not like. I always fall for the villain. I always do. I know that they're supposed to be bad, whatever. But like I just love how I love how like villain characters are written where they they show them that they're bad, but at the same time, they give you like a little bit of backstory, but not enough of a backstory where you want to feel bad for them to not be like, oh, this is like to not like make excuses for him. I like the villains that are like, yeah, he's a piece of shit, and you love him still because he's a piece of shit. But like Vegas, he's definitely, as we can tell, he is a great mastermind. Probably not the greatest because plot kind of falls through. For like his plans kind of fall through, but still, like he is enough to like cause enough trouble to really stir things going. He doesn't know that he is the catalyst for pushing Kinn Porsche into a relationship, but it is what it is. We thank him for that. But like as much as I hate him, I love him too. So it's like I hate how much I love him and I love how much I hate him. It's kind of a situation. Bible, on the other hand, brings a whole other degree as to why you enjoy Vegas so much too. And I feel like that's one of the main things about having such a good character is being able to find somebody that it really embodies that character very well and is able to really portray that character to the full extent that it is. Bible, he just looks like he has that like resting bitch face all the time, which is an amazing thing to have as a villain. He does a very good strong jaw when he's mad, which is one of the things where I'm always like, yes, strong jaw. That's one of the things. But he has this like air of arrogance about him, even though he's like very cute and bubbly in real life, but he has a great air of arrogance. And it's one of those things where there's such a great duality to him too, where you can see him be soft and then you can see him be like completely horrible. And you're kind of like, okay, but which is the real side of him? And Bible is really able to do that very well and to see it very well too. Yeah. So I feel like Bible really makes Vegas's character even better.
Yeah, I've actually read some comments that people think like Vegas, he might be a psychopath. Because he's very manipulative and has zero empathy. What did you think?
Oh, certainly. I feel like Vegas is every possible sort of personality disorder out there in the world. Like we always joke around that he's like a soft dom, where he likes control, but at the same time, like he really enjoys the pain and the suffering too.
Yeah.
But like again, I feel like that's what makes him so complex. It's because you can't get into his headspace, and because he's not like a normal character, that it makes him even more interesting to watch because you really want to understand where he's coming from, even though you'll never truly understand where he's coming from because you don't know whether it's because of his external things that he's experienced in life or
Mhm.
if that's just how he is as a person, kind of a deal too. So I feel like definitely a psychopath, definitely a narcissist, definitely like a masochist, everything out there. Yeah, it's him in a bundle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And apparently like from the research I found, like the show Vegas, it's a lot watered down from the book Vegas
Mhm.
because like the book Vegas, the one in the novel, apparently he's meant to be a serial rapist.
Mm.
So I think in a way, I kind of prefer this like show Vegas a lot more because it's a lot more dimensional, and also like I really think that Bible um really acted the character really well as well. So yeah, so so for me, I also really like Vegas as a character, and also I really like villains too, especially the really crafty ones.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like if you once you like you love how much you hate them, and that's Vegas.
Hmm.
Like another villain that I absolutely love is, oh my gosh, what is her name? It was Together with Me. It was Gorn's girlfriend. I forgot her name, but like I loved her as a villain because she was just like the shittiest person alive, but she did it so well that you can't even be like mad at her. Like you can be mad at her and hate the situation, but you're also like, damn, like you did a really good job. Like, you know, it was kind of one of those situations. So I feel like when a villain does well, like you like them because of that. And like
Yeah.
Vegas is definitely the epitome of that, where
Hmm.
you hate how bad he is, but like because of how bad he is, you enjoy him as a
Yeah,
character.
exactly. Yeah.
And like I haven't read the book because I wanted to remain as spoiler free as possible when I was, because I'm reacting to the series on YouTube. So I don't I and also if I read a book, I always feel like books they're much better than series at times because you're able to get a lot of context and a lot of like, you know, the thoughts that they're going through and how they experience things. So they tell you how they're feeling versus you watching something and you really have to see if if you feel the way that they're supposed to be feeling, sort of a deal. I do get like little whiffs that like a lot of the things in Kinn Porsche, the novel, has been drastically watered down in the series. And I feel like that's something that has to be done, just because some things that are written in books just aren't made for live actions and just do not work, or
Hmm.
they do not come off as the way they're supposed to. Because the book, you're able to have 5-10 pages to describe this and to explain it, but are not like in a series you don't have that amount of time to really
Hmm.
develop and to get people to understand why. So I feel like for them to just take the main points of it and to really form a character that's close enough but not to the T of the novel, and still get the message through that he's a horrible person, is something that should be done. And it's one thing that they did very well in regards to this case. I know that they rewrote Kinn a lot. I know that they rewrote Porsche a lot too, and I'm very thankful for that because the characters that they're playing now in the live action series, um, it comes off better on screen
Hmm.
versus if you were to write it in a novel way.
Yeah, that's very true. So do you think Vegas is a product of his environment?
Yes and no. It's kind of one of the things where I feel like not having empathy nor like sympathy towards somebody is definitely like a mental thing. So that's definitely like, DNA, genetics, something that he cannot control. But like, it also doesn't help that, his environment really states that these things are okay as well, kind of a deal. So it's probably, so I feel like yes and no, where he most likely was not an empathetic child growing up, and he did not give a rat's ass about anybody. But with him being born in the mafia, where he's able to get his way and he's able to do these dirty things and get like applauded for it, just kind of pushed it further over the edge too, kind of a deal. Even if he wasn't in the mafia, I feel like he would still be a shitty person, just not to the extent because he doesn't have the backing and the power to do so if he wasn't in the mafia. But he would still be a horrible person, I feel like, regardless.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there are mixed reviews about the humor in the series. I guess the humor to some people it's a bit of a hit or a miss. So what do you think of it?
I know that humor is something that isn't going to be concrete. Something that was funny 10 years ago isn't going to be funny today because the world is always changing, things are always changing. Also with that, there's cultural humor as well. Like there are some, Asian humor that you and I will find hilarious, but somebody from the outside will be like, that's not okay. But we're sitting here, we're like, you don't get chased around with your mom in a flip-flop, like what kind of a deal? So I feel like cultural aspects and there's just the time with it really plays into it. It's one of those things where while it may not feel like it's okay for you, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be like the cookie cutter of what is okay for everybody else. Um, and I know that, for example, one thing that always pops up in BLs that a lot of people are irritated about are the husband and the wife trope, where they're, and I get it. I get it. But at the same time, it's like it's that Asian humor where or in it's the in Thai it's like that cultural humor where it's kind of like they don't necessarily put the gender towards those particular like titles like father and mother. It's more towards just kind of like the hierarchy of it. And I feel like people, because we don't get that hierarchy here in the US or wherever you're from, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist elsewhere, kind of a deal. So like it's one of the things where I understand why it's bad, but at the same time there are reasons for it, and it's okay over there. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world too. You're totally like you're more than welcome to be mad at things. Like you have all the power in the world to not like things or to like things, and it's just kind of like it's getting better, and maybe we'll get to a point where everything is secular and everybody will be on the same footing. But at the same time, we're all different people from different parts of the world and grow up in different cultures and religions, and that's never really going to happen. But we'll get to a point eventually, hopefully, of everybody having a mutual ground of things.
Yeah, that's really, really well said. So was there anything that you felt that the show could have done differently?
For the show, as of right now, without getting like too nitpicky, overall, the show is definitely exceeding my expectations in a lot of things. Though they're able to really, I really enjoy the little details that they're putting in on things. I do know that there are like just like these slight little things that like bug me more detail wise than plot wise. Um, and it's just kind of like we have like very subtle moments where it looks a little off at times, but it's kind of like that's just me being too nitpicky and like seeing things. But like as of right now, I do enjoy everything that they're giving us. Necessarily to change, I would say no. I honestly am just kind of taking what they're giving us and just being fine with it because it could be worse. Honestly, I have seen worse as well. And so therefore I'm just kind of like with the time given and with everything given, if this is the best they can do, it's hell of a lot better than other PLs that have been produced. So can you really like criticize it too much?
Yeah. So what do you think about the butterfly cuts that brings a scene to an abrupt end?
I they do that a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but at the same time, I feel like they are able to have them well placed enough where it's so frustrating, but it's kind of like it's kind of something that happens in novels where it ends and then it starts somewhere else and then it kind of wraps its way around back to it. So I feel like they really use the novel aspect in regards to those cutscenes as well. They are a huge fan of cliffhangers. Like I feel like every single episode has ended with a cliffhanger thus far. But it's kind of like I feel like it's going to be something that's like we're giving ode to the novel because I feel like the novel was very cutty and snippy like that too, and sometimes it just is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's there are some mixed feelings, mixed reviews on the whole butterfly cut, because there's some people just finds that it's okay, it's not too bad, it works well for the series, but there are other people on the other end, they just find it's a little irritating, and to some it seems a bit bipolar.
Certainly, it's kind of like it's I feel like it's always hard when you have such a complex story, and especially with a cast this big as well. One of the biggest things with having a huge cast is that like characters would get left out, and like for this, they're trying their best to get enough screen time but still remain on plot, kind of a deal, which I feel as to why the butterfly cuts happen, because it's kind of like, while the story is progressing, we have to remember that the story over here is also progressing while they're more of a side plot. I also kind of feel like they don't watch a lot of Chinese dramas. Because Chinese dramas are the epitome of like a million side plots just to get to the main plot. And I feel like because I'm so used to having like multiple side plots and multiple, like, we're gonna switch the pace very quickly kind of a deal. That it's just kind of like you're just so used to it, sort of a thing. And I feel like with the screen time that they're giving us, there are a couple of characters and there are a couple of things that I would like to see more. But at the same time, I understand why they're prioritizing the main plot line, because it is the main plot line. And then if they were to show a little bit too much of these characters, what if they underdevelop the main characters and the main plot? And then that would kind of fall through. And that's normally the backbone and the tape that pushes everything forward too. So like while I understand that why people hate it, at the same time, I feel like it really helps with also just pushing everything along, because there's reasons for this relationship to progress and you have to give it its time so it plays into what the bigger plot is coming into.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. What do you think about the rape trope?
I hate it. But again, it's a mafia BL. It's kind of one of those things where like when you think mafia, you think the most horrible things out there in the world. And while I feel like it's not necessary at all, at the same time, it's kind of to be expected if it does appear, sort of a deal. Do I feel like the story would have progressed a lot better without it? Definitely. But at the same time, I feel like it would also change how, like, the environment of Kinn Porsche. Because Kinn Porsche mafia toxic, like they're gonna have a lot of issues, and I feel like if you're taking out all of the issues and trying to water down too many of it, it just becomes very coastal, very meh. And like, it's 18 plus for a reason. They gave a lot of warnings out there that's like, hey, there are going to be things that you are not going to like. But I'm also a fan of, sometimes we have to see things that we do not like, and it has to be put out there in the world. So therefore, that it's not a good thing, and to see things, kind of a deal. It's kind of, I always feel like toxicity is needed in the world as much as we hate it, but without toxicity, we don't know what healthy is, kind of a deal. So I feel like while I hate it, and it's not necessarily a thing that they should put in, I understand why they kept it in and why they did so, because it really sets up with how everything moves on forward. The very first scene when Porsche got drugged by Vegas, they try their best to make it as like not as horrible. I know I read comments in my YouTube comments about like how the book wrote it versus how they portrayed it, and it was drastically a lot better versus what happened in the novel. And it's kind of one of those things where this was kind of like something needed to happen to cause the issue and to cause the issue of them having conflicting feelings for one another as well. And so it's kind of like, well, it kind of sucks that it happened. It kind of we needed a sprinkle of it to understand and for them to kind of grow from it too. And I feel like without having those downsides, we're not going to be able to enjoy their good sides when they get them.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. So, what other genres of BLs would you like to see in the future?
Definitely, I am a huge fan of like adult dramas, like not college students. I want to see adults. Like I want to see 30-year-olds. I want to see like workplace dramas. And it's one of the main reasons why I enjoy Japanese BLs so much, because they do like, while they do cutesy, fluffy high school, college romance, they do have like the psychological thrillers. They do have the adult ones where they're like Osan's Love, where they're like 30-year-olds working in the office, or like Cherry Magic and things like that. So like I want to see just like more variety outside of the college scope. I understand why the college scope is such a big thing, because that's kind of where BL started. But like I feel like trying to branch into like things like 1,000 Stars, you know, where they're having military personnel and they're moving away from the city and the colleges to like a rural town. Like I really enjoyed 1,000 Stars because it played on a lot of nostalgia that I watched with Hylicorns growing up too. And it's kind of like, I want to see things like that more. So things out of the norm. So definitely like adults working outside of the city, outside of the college life. They're like Triage that's coming out, or actually I don't know if it's airing yet. That's going to be the one with the hospital where has that one aired yet? It's like T is in it. But yeah, like things like that, like Manner of Death, I really enjoy those just because they're so out there that like they're not predictable, and they're not like, this is what's going to happen with it kind of a deal. So I want to see more things outside of the college world for sure.
Yeah. Something that's different. That's not like overly used, like university or college students sort of a thing.
Yeah, like I love them. You know, you throw them on when you need that little bit of fluff, but at the same time, it's recycled, and it gets very like you don't want to watch it anymore. Like there are a lot of BLs that came out that because they were college themed, I was like, I just can't handle another college themed BL anymore. So I was very thankful when Kinn Porsche came out. I was like, I'm like seriously, like let's
it's so different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very different from the majority of the BLs that have been released so far. So just to wrap up, what are your future plans that the listeners should anticipate?
Future plans. So I am actually an ambassador of Raikanthopani Philippines. They do great fan experiences for BL fans. They host amazing like Zoom meets with actors and such. A couple of actors that they had on was Max Thule. They had Nut Karn, Me Too. And they're hosting a huge fan con event in the Philippines at the end of August, actually, that I will be able to attend. So I'm super excited about it. There are going to be 54 actors in attendance as well. So therefore, Z Nunu, like Cutie Pie, Domundi Boys, all of them are going to be there. Jeff is going to be there, so I'm super excited for that. Max Thule's going to be there. So like, you know, it's definitely going to be a great time. And I'm superbly looking forward to that. It's going to be a 3 full-day fan con event, concert, booths, Q&A sessions and such. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's definitely something that's going to be coming out soon. I will be like vlogging as much as possible along that trip and kind of shooting like little behind the scenes. I do get like backstage access, so I could be like, you'll see me like running and like getting to work and do things. So like getting to interact with the actors too. So I'm superbly excited for that. Definitely prepping to like not hyperventilate and die when Thupacorn is in my presence. Thul is another person where he is on the same height as Mew, where like I just really enjoy all the work that he does on the screen and off the screen, and really admire him for pursuing his educational careers as well as like, you know, being an entrepreneur and things like that. So like again, being able to like meet him and talk to him, definitely gonna have to like carry brown bags around with me in case I like start to not breathe, emergency dial on speed dial and things like that. But that is definitely one thing though to look forward to. I'm super excited about it as well. And if anybody has any questions, always feel free to DM me. I would love to tell you about it. I feel like it's a must to go. It's gonna be amazing.
I know you've started a new TikTok channel, right?
Yeah, so I did create like a side account, a second account. Um, I know that the TikTok algorithm is one that it's while it's great, it's also horrible at the same time. We randomly get shadow banned at times, and it kind of gets to the point where once you start seeing a lot of comments that are like, "Hey, like I haven't seen you in a couple of months," kind of a deal, but you've been like actively posting, sort of a deal. But at the
Why were you
same,
shadow banned?
the TikTok algorithm is just weird and they change it so often. They have like there used to be an algorithm where your videos was just automatically put onto the For You page, and they changed it where they keep it amongst your followers for a while before they push it out. So there's like a lag in videos viewerships too. Like even with some of the other mutuals, I see videos and their videos are like weeks old, but they're popping up as if they're like brand new and things like that. So the algorithm is just really weird. You can never get ahead of it. You can never predict what's going to happen with it. You know, a TikTok that takes you 10 seconds to film that you thought of 3 a.m. can blow up, while a TikTok that you spent like hours on perfecting can remain at like very minimal views.
Wow.
So it's like you really can't control what's going to happen with it.
Yeah.
But alongside with that too, I post a lot about like BL content and such, and I don't really share a lot about like what's happening in my life and things like that. While I'm not the most interesting person because I am a working adult, so it's like your life is always just constantly work and home, work and home. Like there are little moments though that I would like to like share. So I did create a little side account just in case anything was to happen to the main account, that they're still able to enjoy little aspects and to just see something that's aside from like the BL content that I normally would put out too. While I enjoy BL, I also want to grow with it. And I feel like, again, it's one of those things where if you just keep remaining with what you're comfortable with, you're not going to improve as a person and to be able to make the world a better place at the same time too. So it's also kind of a refresher for yourself when you post so much about something and it kind of starts feeling like it's a job and you really start losing that like hobby interest in it. I feel like that second one is just going to be a great refresher where it's like maybe or if there are no series that I really enjoy, then like, hey, let me talk about what else I've been looking at. And it's kind of like over here sort of a deal, because like I watch more things than BL and I do more things out there, and I don't necessarily get to share that a lot because people do follow my main account because I do post about BL content, and I don't want to suddenly start posting about like books that I read or my new puppy that I got, and they're like, why are you posting this when
because you're more than just a BL content creator, right?
Yeah, so if that's the little side one, it's just kind of like a refresher to kind of be like, to be creative in other aspects of life as well.
Yeah. Very good. So thank you for coming on to my podcast. I had fun. Did you have fun?
I did. I thought of the word I was looking for earlier. Exhilarating. There it is.
Oh, thank you. She said my podcast was exhilarating. Oh my God. I'm blushing so hard right now.
Because like literally when you said that, the image in my mind was just like fireworks, like, and I was like, I don't know what that word is. And it's not surprise. And it's not like, it's like you're very like energetic. But like, I couldn't think of it. And then I finally thought of it and I was like, that's the word. It started with an E. So I was like, I was close enough. I have moments sometimes where I'm just like foggy brained. When you're multilingual, you're just kind of like, the word in one language, but not in the other language.
Yeah. You just can think of it. Yeah.
So yes, exhilarating. That's the word.
Guys, she said it was exhilarating.
But yeah, I really had a great time, and it was so nice to talk to with you about Kinn Porsche as well. Like I'm such a huge like deep diver, and I'm a huge conspiracy theory. So like I'm always like suspicious of everybody, and I'm like, I need somebody to like talk with me so I can be like, am I crazy, or do you also see what I'm seeing right now? So when I tunnel into a series, I'm always like, psst, I need you to watch this so I can like talk to you about it. Because like I can talk to you about it, but if you don't understand it, then it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for this. And it's also very nice to get like a different aspect and a different view. on a series too, because like you can watch it and based on how what you're exposed to and based on how you live your life and what you're surrounded with, you can see something one way, and a completely different person can view this another way, and it's nice to see that different side of it, and you're like, I never thought about it like that, and it's like I can see why I can see why you view it like that, and it's kind of like, bigger brain. And I feel like when you're able to see different aspects of a series and see how other people view it, it makes the series more well-rounded. And it also makes a good series into a great series as well when it creates those discussion topics too.
Yeah, that's very, very true. It's always good to get like different perspectives and from different people. That's I guess that's the whole point of having like a really constructive like discussion to talk about like the series. So yeah, so thank you for coming on my podcast. So if you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to the channel, and all things will be linked in the description. And don't forget to follow Paris at wthmong. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Bye.